Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Live Chat with Andy. Right, this is our new channel. This is my new channel, which we are going to be. Right, see how many we get in. And what can we talk about? Right. Well, let's start with the burning topic of the moment. Andy Burnham. Yeah. Right. Is he going to keep his promises? Is he, whatever he pledges to us, is he going to keep them, or is he going to just be another Labour leader like Keir Starmer, and promise us platinum and give us our shit? Yeah, or bullshit even. We don't know, do we? He's promised to cap the bus fares. Well, that doesn't really help me because I don't. I don't use buses. Very rarely you have to use a bus. I very rarely bother with buses. Scrapping the TV licence, that'd be a nice one for him to do. Yeah, that'd be a nice one for him to do. Yeah, that'd be an interesting one, wouldn't it? Scrapping the TV licences. That'd be an interesting one. Or TV licence, should I say. He's threatening to take the tax off electricity. That won't really help us out because all the electric board will do when winter comes, they'll just put the price of electric up like they do with the gas. They put the price of gas down in the summer. Why? Because no fucker uses it in the winter. In the summer, sorry. No one uses it. So they put the price down and then hike it back up in the winter and tell us all that we're getting a saving, and we're not really. Because we're not using it. I mean, I'll be honest, guys, I've got £44, I think it is, on my gas. I've had £44 on my gas for ages. I put a tenner a month on it in the summer, just to keep it topped up. And at the end of the day, guys, when winter comes, I'll be putting about £40 or £50 a month on it, more than that even. So it just shows you, they put the prices up. When winter comes, they put the prices of it all up. So capping it's not going to help us. If you're watching this, Andy Burnham, which I doubt you are, if you really want to help us out and you really understand the cost of living, lower the prices of food. Make it cheap. Make take the VAT off food. Help us out that way. Take the VAT off food and put a cap on it, so that everybody has to pay the same. None of the supermarkets trying to cut each other's throat. Make sure everybody pays the same. Everybody, just do it, or set up a government supermarket, and I don't mean Tesco, which already is. Set up somewhere where people can go and buy food, good quality food, for a fair price, instead of us getting screwed every time we do our weekly or monthly shop, our weekly, fortnightly or monthly shop. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. My monthly shop, it comes to £200 and odd a month. 2 years ago, it was nowhere near that. I was lucky I was spending 90, and even that was pushing it a couple of years ago. And you know, it's just disgraceful. You know that we're all living on the breadline in a country that's supposed to be the land of milk and honey, supposed to be the fucking land of plenty where there's everything. Yet you know, we can't afford. Yet the country can't afford to bring the cost of food down so that the people can eat decent food. I mean, we don't want to eat stuff that costs £1. It's shit. You know, supermarket economy beans. And fucking... I bought some peas out of Morrison's once. They're yellow and... I think they were in a yellow and white tin. I poured them into the fucking pan. They were fucking grey. Fucking grey. Peas are supposed to be green. They were fucking processed peas and they were grey. Supposed to be fucking green, guys. You know, needless to say, they went straight into the fucking bin. I didn't even eat them. I couldn't get them. I couldn't bring myself to eat them or even feed them to my daughter. Laura was living here at the time. She was still at school. I couldn't feed her them. I wouldn't eat them myself, so if I weren't going to eat them, I wouldn't have even given them to Scraps. You know, at the end of the day, guys, you know, if they could do something useful, then lower the cost of food. You know, like, you know, pizzas that used to be £1 are now £1.70. You know, it's in some places, especially these small shops, small Asian shops, you know, bread can be over £2 a loaf. £2 a fucking loaf for a loaf of bread. You know, it's about fucking, it's nearly that in the supermarkets. It's about 170 or something like that. Apart from Aldi, I think theirs is £1 or 70p or something. For their equivalent. For the Warburton, I always buy the older Warburton's Toasty in the orange wrapper. But whenever I'm in Aldi, I always get what I call the fake Toasty, which is in the same colour wrapper, and it's basically it's the same fucking bread. I mean, I think Warburton's make their own bread, but all the bread the supermarkets get, it's all baked here in Stockport by Allied Bakeries. It's all baked in Stockport by Allied Bakeries. The bread that finds its way into the supermarket. Warby's bread might be now and all, I don't know. But all the supermarket brands, they're all baked in Allied Bakery, which used to be Sunblest years ago. But, you know, at the end of the day, you know, food should be a lot cheaper than what it is. Hello, Channel 27. Andy, I am the first. Comment on your new channel. Right, well, you're more than welcome, my buddy. You're more than welcome. If you've got anything to add, you know, just bleep bloop it in the chat there, and hopefully we'll get a few more people in. I'm going to be here for a bit yet, so hopefully we'll get a few more people in. So, you know, if you're listening, Andy Burnham, you know, lower the cost of food. Fuck the gas and the electric, because they're going to put the prices of that up in the winter, and we won't see the benefit. You don't see the benefit of it in the summer because they lower the price, but you don't use as much on your gas. I mean, I use more electric in the summer than I use gas. So yeah, dropping the electric, you know, to even taking the tax off electric, it wouldn't help us, and I'll tell you why. Hello, Clarence. I'm here, my Dr. Higgins says that I'm here, my Dr. Higgins says I'm good. Absolutely, glad to hear it, mate. You know, but, you know, basically, right, you know, taking the tax off gas won't, or electric rather, won't help us because they'll just hike the price up in winter. Europe is going to get slammed on electric and gas this winter. Thank you, Mr. Trumpy bum. Oh yes, we know that. You know, he's an arsehole, President Trump, and I hope he's watching this video because I think he's a fucking arsehole. Somebody should fucking forward my videos onto him. I think he's an arsehole. Everybody thinks he's an arsehole. What I don't understand, why did everybody vote for him? That's what I can't work out. You know, everybody hates him. Every American you hear about hates him. So why did he get in? I mean, how did he get in? I mean, Hillary, no, not Hillary Clinton. What's her name? That woman, what was her name that was running against him? Is it because the Americans didn't want a woman president? He doesn't care what we say. He would if you walked up and kicked him in the bollocks, Clarence. He'd fucking think about what you said then. If you just walked up and kicked him squarely in the fucking bollocks, you know, he'd fucking care about it then. You know, once his bollocks start fucking aching, turn him into a farmer. Give him 2 acres. Hey, someone's just bought me a coffee. Or I've had a notification from buying me a coffee. Anyway, but I just had a notification come up. Let me just check this, guys. Somebody bought me a coffee. I don't want to close YouTube down. Oh, Pascal's, yeah, Pascal. Yeah, Pascal Sargent bought free Oh, thank you very much, Pascal. I'll send him his manual tonight. I mean, I would have done anyway, but, you know. Yeah. But yeah, he bought me free coffees, and I think it's fair because, you know, once he's got the manual, and I'll probably send him something else if he needs it. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's all good. That we'll get his manual out to him in a bit, and you know, but yeah, I think it's fair. You know, if somebody that I know, if somebody who is not likely to be doing me a favour in the future. I mean, I help. You know, most people I do help out, as we all know. But yeah, anyway, that's for the other channel. Thank you very much, Pascal. I'll thank you proper on the other channel when I get on there. When I do my next video or my next. Well, I'm not doing many live streams there now. Live streams are over here now. This is where we do them, and you know, there's not going to be any videos on here. We're maybe a preview video now and again, telling you what's coming up, and I'll do proper research, and I'll research topics. Yeah, Camilla Harris, that's the one. Yeah, is as dumb as a stump. Well, we know that, but you know, well, what about what's his name? You know. I think they should have let Barack Obama have another go. I know he did his 2 terms, but you know, I'll be honest with you, Clarence. You know, I'm not well up on American presidents. Well, I am a little bit. I know a few, not personally, but yeah, I know of a few, and I've read about a few. And I think the best president you guys ever had was Barack Obama, without a shadow of a doubt. I believe he was the best, you know, because he did a lot for the American on the street. You know, I'm in a different country, and even I know that. And he appeared on Mythbusters, you know, with Jamie Hyneman and Adam Savage. He had them flown, didn't he, directly to the White House to give them an assignment. And, and he said to them two guys, that he was very big on education and Americans learning and stuff like that, Americans being educated and more science and stuff. He was very big on that. I take back about what I said about the French. Oh, don't worry about the French. I won't worry about the French. Obama started the trouble with Iran. Yeah, but even so, he still did a lot for the American on the street. He was, he got a bit of a national health going, didn't he? A bit of an health service going, and Trump cancelled it. People who were on their ass. People on their ass with nothing. They got mobile phones, so they could phone emergency services and, people who they needed to phone. They got them, and Trump took all that away from them. And, but he took that away from him in his first term. So why did they vote for him to get in again? I mean, was it a case of either Trump or nobody? I mean, yeah. I'm sure, out of a nation full of Americans, America's one of the biggest nations on the earth. Obama didn't do shit for me, mate. I paid all my life for my own healthcare. Obama just gave it away to everyone. Yeah, but that's what they do over here. It's called the National Health Service. People like me who can't work and can't afford to pay for hospital treatment, because of the people who can afford it, I get treatment, which means I can live longer. That's the way things are, Clarence. That's how it is, mate. I'm not going to debate that one because it sort of like enters towards the boundary of moral ground, and basically that becomes a difference of opinion, and we all know about opinions. Every opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. But I think no, it will turn into the wonderful quality service it will turn into the wonderful quality service like the NHS. Well, you see, I think the NHS is a good thing. I can go see my doctor and not pay him a penny. I can get I get me medication on prescription, which I don't pay for. But when I was working, I was paying for it, and I didn't object to paying for it because I paid my national insurance and I paid my taxes. So when I was working, I paid everything I was supposed to pay. But I don't feel like the state owes me, even though I have paid something into the state. I don't feel like it owes me. I'm just getting what the country says I can have. And that's it. Don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not one of these people who thinks that, everyone else owes him a living, because they don't. That's not the point. The point here is, the National Health was created in 1947 to actually provide every British person, pretty much, with care from cradle to the grave. Cradle to the grave care, that was the mandate, that's what it was all about. And there's nothing wrong with having a National Health Service. What if you suddenly come out of work, Clarence? What if you suddenly come out of work, and you run out of money? Because that's what happens when you come out of work. You spend your money and it starts to deplete. No matter how much you try and save it, you just can't. If there's nothing going in the pot starts to go down. So, how would you feel if somebody says, oh no, we're not sending an ambulance out to you because you can't afford it? Now, I wouldn't like that to happen to me or any of my family, or you can't see the doctor because you've got no money. No. I think the National Health Service is a good thing. when it's run right, and at the moment I don't think it's run right, but when it's run right, I mean, I can make an appointment anytime I want and see my doctor. You know, you can't do that where you live. You can't do that in America. Well, you can, but you get a bloody big bill at the end of it. You know, you can't just walk into a doctor's surgery over there. I know that, and speak to your doctor. You know, because when you've spoke to him, you know, you're faced with a bloody big bill. You know, we have all that without the NHS. Yeah, but the NHS is a good thing, and it obviously is because it's been around since 1947. If it wasn't a good thing, it would have got scrapped a long time ago. So it obviously got to be, you know, it's got to be a good thing. But you know, you see, the thing with America and a lot of other places on the earth, that if somebody doesn't get paid, then nobody wants to work. And you know, and I understand that to a point, but I disagree with it when it comes to health. I mean, in America, they'll leave somebody on the street dying if they can't afford their health care, and I know that. I'm not stupid just because I don't live there. You know, if you don't pay your dues in America, you get fuck all. You know, I mean, they don't even like giving you Social Security over there. Mind you, they don't like giving you over here if they can avoid it, but, you know, over there, if you don't a lot of cases, over there, if you don't fucking work, you don't fucking eat. You know, that's the American regime, and that's how it's always been. Anyway, let's move on from talking about national health and Americans. You know, what else can we rant on about? Think of something we can talk about. I mean, the idea of this channel is for you guys to join in and maybe suggest topics that we could actually discuss. The TV licence is another one, which is an unfair tax. I mean, you don't pay I mean, we're the only, as far as I'm aware, we're the only country on the planet that actually pays a tax to actually watch a picture produced on a little small fucking, well, on a fucking box in the fucking corner of the room. Well, it ain't a box now, it's more like a photograph frame, innit? You know, but we're the only people left on the street are those that deny the help. Well, you know, I beg to differ. I'm not there, so I can't see it for myself. But you know, I know America is a lot more. You know, I could really delve into it and talk about the gun culture of America and all that fucking lot. You know, but I'm not going to do that because, quite honest, I don't really want to. But you know, something a bit closer to home, the TV licence. We pay a TV licence here in the UK, which is basically a government enforced tax. I keep getting letters from them arseholes telling me that I'm due a visitor, an enforcement officer visit. They can come and visit me anytime they want. I make the cunts famous on YouTube. I'll stick them on here, and we can all have a fucking laugh. You know, they won't get any licence money out of me. You know, they can stick the fucking licence where the sun don't shine at the end of the day. And if Andy Burnham wants to do anything good, then A, reduce the price of food. B, reduce the cost of fuel for gas. I'm not asked about petrol, diesel. I couldn't care less about that. I don't drive, so I'm not asked about motor fuel. But domestic fuel like gas and electric, yes, reduce that. If people want to drive, make them pay for it. I don't drive, so it don't bother me. But get rid of the TV licence. Reduce the cost of food. Reduce the cost of gas and electricity for UK households, no matter how rich or poor they are. Give everybody the same treatment. Stop giving ministers fucking pay rises. Make the teachers work for their fucking money instead of giving them fucking 6 weeks in the year. Well, they get more than 6 weeks off. There's break up tomorrow. Well, little Tommy's school breaks up tomorrow. And they're off for 5 weeks. The big schools are off for 6 weeks. But then once they go back to school, about 2 or 3 weeks after that, they're off school again. You know, so, you know, I should have been a teacher. It's good money for old rope. Really. You know, truthfully, our federal tax funds, our public television too, hang on a minute, I'm reading that wrong. Truthfully, our federal tax funds, our federal tax funds, our public television too. People just don't know it. Yeah, but you don't get forced. You know, you don't get somebody sending you a fucking letter. You know, you don't get a cuntish company called Capita sending you a fucking letter saying that they're going to come and fucking visit you because you haven't got a TV licence. I mean, it's a well-known fact that most television in America, you know, it's all fucking advert-based. Everything's an advert. You know, are there any stations in America that don't show commercials? They all show commercials. You know, every time you see a television in America, it's got a commercial on it. You know, it's full of commercials and them shopping channels and, you know, like QVC and shit like that. You know, and, you know, they all pay for television in America. It's commercial, it's all commercial over there. You know, fucking, you know, and the broadcasters have to pay, they have to pay so much for licenses and stuff. Our public TV does not show adverts. Right, well maybe they should. You know, we've got independent television over here, I'm sure you're aware of. We've got ITV, which was formerly Granada. And we've got Channel 4. Channel 4's state owned, and Channel 4 is public, and that belongs that's state owned, Channel 4, and they do commercials. And Channel 5, they do commercials. ITV, all the IBA stations, the independent, everything that comes under the Independent Broadcasting Authority, which is the IBA, they all do commercials. The only fuckers who don't is the BBC. Our public television also shows mostly BBC. Yeah, because they're probably fucking owned by the BBCs. That's why. That explains that one. I mean, it's like UK Gold, Dave, and Yesterday, and all them other TV stations. They're all owned by the BBC, and yet they all show commercials. And according to the BBC's non-commercial charter, they're not allowed to show commercials, but they do on them platforms. They do on them channels, because they all belong to the BBC. That's why all the content on them is all BBC. For a while, at one time, they used to show the bill on UK Gold. Well, they could do because the bill used to be on Channel 4, and Channel 4 is state owned. You know, but yeah, them public broadcasters are probably owned by the BBC. That's why they show all the BBC shite. You know, you lot are probably still getting fucking early versions of fucking Jim Will Fix It. BBC leans to progressive left messages. Really? Right. Well, they can lean where they want as long as they don't lean on me for licence money. Yeah. Do you know something? They went to my Auntie Winnie once. This was back in the fucking. It was back in the very late 70s, early 80s. It was about 1980. They went to my auntie, the TV licensed people, about fucking 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And what they did, they tried to tell her what she'd been watching, and she hadn't even had the television switched on. And they tried to say that they picked her up with a detector van. Well, we all know detector vans are fake, and I don't care what people say. If everybody in a row of houses has got a fucking telly on, there's no way they can pinpoint which house hasn't got a license. I don't care what you say, you can't do it. It's impossible. Right, how many people have we got in? How many have we got in? Let's have a look. 4 people. Wow. Wow. Should I be grateful or should I be annoyed? I'll just be grateful, guys. It is early days. And the more there gets about, the better. And I will send Pascal his manual in a bit. I only wanted 1 coffee off him, he bought me 3. So that was very kind of him. And I was very polite in the manner in which I asked him. You know, that I explained it, you know, that I think he should buy me a coffee because of, you know, and I'll get that out to him. I'll do that for him in a bit. Of course I will. I'll do that for him in a bit. Over on the table over there, guys, you can see a little square box. Well, we're not going to talk about that because this is not electronics. It's just us gassing her, yeah. I know it is, Clarence. I know it is, mate. But that's what this channel's for. It's for everybody to come on, have a right good rant like we're doing, you know, have a bit of debate or have a bit of a debate on something like we have done, not fall out over it like we haven't done. And basically, you know, it's where you can go and put the world to rights, you know, say what the fuck you want on here, you know. This is the Andy and Clarence show so far. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. You know, but it's what it's all about, really. It's about coming on. You know, I might do this every Thursday. I'll probably do this every Thursday, and that'll give me a bit of time. Oh, pardon me. So far I'll do it every Thursday, and I'll try and get at least 2 a week in. And what I'll do when I'm not doing the electronics, I'll do a bit of research, and you know, because if I do it every night, we run out of things to talk about. So I think once or twice a week to start with, and the more we get in, and the more we can research, the more we can discuss, the more we'll do. But you know, I think I'll limit it to twice a week on here, and you know, I'll put the dates like I've done tonight. I'll put the date in the title so that we know. Hello, Karen. Can't be a healthy rant. Hi guys. Good evening, Karen. I hope you and Jeff are okay. Yeah, you're more than welcome to, you know, you're more than welcome to chip in, or, you know, if you've got a personal gripe yourself and you want to talk about it, you know, if there's something you're not happy with, then go ahead. You know, we'd love to hear what you've got to say. Or if you've been watching from the beginning, if you have, you've got to be fucking desperate. No. You know, but, you know. Yeah, welcoming, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. The more the merrier. You know, but, you know, if you've been watching from the beginning and you've got an opinion on anything that me and Clarence have been ranting about, you know, then yeah, please feel free to tell us. I'm going to have to get another t-shirt, because this is the Vintage Electronics. Even this is out of date, because I don't have a Vintage Electronics repair channel anymore. It's Vintage Audio, you know. Uh, but that being said, yeah, we're all okay. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, we're all okay, honey. Yeah, like I say, you and Jeff are. But yeah, we're cool. I would imagine Clarence is okay. Well, he got the all clear from his doctor. He was saying, so yeah, he must be all right. And who was the other fella who was on Channels 27? I think it was. Yeah, I would imagine our buddy at Channel 27 is okay. Yeah, but like I say, guys, if Andy Berman wants to do anything, that's really meaningful for the public and will really, really help the public purse. The man on the street's purse, should I say. If he really wants to put something extra into our wallet, then lower the prices of things that have gone up, things that should stay low, like the cost of food. We need food to fucking live, guys. We need food to live. Man cannot live by bread alone. Man cannot live by bread anyway, not at the price of it. I mean, nearly £2 in some places for a loaf of bread. More in some places. If you want a good quality loaf of bread. But I buy what I call the fake Warburtons. These idiots never do anything for us. They're only there because they can be. They're there to line their own pockets, Clarence. That's all Andy Burnham's there for. He was going on that he was a mobile DJ. He probably can't get a fucking job as a mobile DJ anymore. So that's why he's fucking doing this. But when all said and done, yeah, come on, Andy, let's get. Come on, Andy, he's got your Angela back on board. Yeah, but let's face it, at the end of the day, I'm not sticking up for Angela Rayner. I don't stick up for anybody who I believe is wrong, but I don't believe she was wrong. I believe she was misguided and she sorted the issue out. Not a lot of people understand that, and people forget that. She sorted that issue out. She paid her dues. She paid her. She accepted her penance. She paid her dues. It was all dealt with, and some of the things that were said about her simply weren't true. And I know that because I know her personally. So, but. It was always a given that she was going to come back because I know her personally, and she's not one to give up. She's not one to just walk away. And good luck to her, But like I say, she was misguided, and she was ill-advised, and the person who ill-advised her denied even giving her any knowledge to cover their own arse. Rather than say, yeah, we ill-advised her. They just say, oh, no, we didn't tell her anything. And when they did. So, yeah. Let me say this, right? As long as he keeps his promises, which he won't, because none of them ever do. He's only there to line his own pockets. That's all he's there for. He's there because he knows he can make a bloody fortune in the short time that Labour's got left in. Because the general election comes up next year, and in 2027 the general election comes up, and I'm not voting for any of them because I think they're all a load of cocksuckers. I'm not voting for any of them, guys. I'll be honest, I think the country should go back to being ruled by the monarchy. But I think they should wait until Prince William becomes king. Because that fucker they call King Charles III, he won't have a fucking clue, him. He don't know where the bear shits in the foot week, does he, that fucker? Come on, guys, he's thick as shit. He's thicker than a corned beef sandwich. You know. But you know, yeah. I mean, you know, what Angela Rayner did, yeah, she was given ill advice and she acted on it. You know. Basically, she zigged when she should have zagged, I suppose. But, you know, she paid her penance, so, you know, there's no point going on about Angela Rayner because she paid her penance. She paid what she owed the tax man. She made it right. So, you know, she was never prosecuted. Let me get this right. She was never prosecuted. She never brought to court. She was never prosecuted. So, you know, she did what she was asked to do. Now she's got another bite of the cherry, and good luck to her. I mean, yeah. What is she, housing minister or something? I don't know what she is. I've not checked. Yeah, that's what I mean, guys. For this channel, I would actually have to do a bit of research before I come on. I've just come on tonight just to test the water, but you know, I would have to actually research. I would actually have to do my research on the channel, on the you know, throughout the. I'm going to come on to start with. We're going to do it on a Thursday night, about 6 o'clock, between 6 and 7 Thursday night. We'll come on, and we'll stay on until about, what time's it now? It's 8, fuck me. It's 8 o'clock, but we could stay on until about, you know, we could stay on till about 8:30, I think, and then I'm gonna crawl in bed. I've been up since fucking 6:30 this morning. I was up at 6:30, guys. I got up. I went to the lavatory. I went to siphon the python. I went for a pee, and I went in the workshop because I wanted to test that record player. So, you know, I did a bit in there while I waited till about 8 o'clock or something, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Made sure Courtney and Tommy were out of bed. Because I didn't want to put a record on loud while they were in bed. I didn't want to disturb and get them out of bed. Anyway, so I waited until I heard movement upstairs, and when I heard movement upstairs, I thought, right, I put my Cliff Richard LP on and had a listen before I did my video, and then played the Philly Shave Twist on the video for that particular product. And that's got that sorted. That's all back together. But that's for that channel. So is that that box over there on the coffee table? That's for that channel. That belongs to my friend Richard in Lincolnshire. He came to pick his 2 Belfair princes up, and his 2 Belfair princesses up, and his Sharp RP30. He came to get that today, and he dropped that off because I've had one of them. It's I'll tell you what it is on the channel when we get to it. But yeah. So, you know, it's got, you know, Angela Rayner's got nothing to do with it. I mean, she's only a pawn in the game of life. You know, he said to her, do you want to come back in as whatever minister? And she said, yes, of course I will. And who wouldn't? I would have said yes as well. You can't blame her. But like I say, you know, there's no good slagging her down or calling her or, you know, because A, she's a friend of mine and I won't wear it. And B, I simply won't, guys. If somebody slags any of my friends off, I won't, no matter who they are, I won't wear it. But she was ill-advised. She definitely was, guys. I've not spoke to her about it. She's not under no obligation to discuss it with me. Well, never have normal people. We'll never have normal people as our prime leader. No, we won't, Clarence. No, you're absolutely spot on, mate. We won't. That's never going to happen. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, guys, right? No matter how you look at it, folks, right? No matter how you look at it, we're always going to get shafted. We are going to. We were put on this earth to be double crossed. You know, we're always going to get. You know, they're never going to play the game fair with us. They'll never play the game straight. You know, because every time we fucking turn around, they'll stick the cue up our ass. You know, we're always going to get the shitty end of the stick. No matter how you look at it, guys, that's the way things are. It's the way things are. It's the way things have always been. The haves don't want to give to the have-nots. And that's the way it is. That's the simple, plain truth of the matter. And what I might do, guys, I might not do my videos sitting in this chair in this corner. What I might do, I might start doing my videos sat on my comfortable chair in the lounge and set up a video camera in there. But that's for that I've got to get some leads and mind you, I've got a 10 metre, I've got a fucking 10 metre HDMI lead connected to that projector which is not being used. So I could probably fish that out and utilise that. But the system is set up. We know that. Everyone deserves a chance. Time will tell. Yes, Karen, you're absolutely right, honey. And I agree with that. Everyone deserves a chance. I mean, when I was a kid, I was given many chances. And I've even given people chances. The only time I never give a chance is to a woman if I've got a girlfriend and she fucks about with somebody else behind my back. I don't give a chance there because I don't think it's worth giving a chance to. But you know, once I leave, once I decide I don't want to be with somebody, I'm not with them. And that's the end of the matter. It's like if I don't want to be friends with somebody, I'll just execute. So I won't execute them. I will excommunicate them, you know, and we'll never I'll never break bread with them again. You know. But like I've always said, guys, you know, you sup with the devil and you get all you ask for. You're going to get what you ask for if you sup with the devil. You know, supping means drinking, by the way. Yeah, you sup with the devil and you're going to get everything you ask for. But, yeah, everybody deserves a chance. I completely and totally, thoroughly, absolutely agree. I couldn't agree more on that. You know, and will Andy Burnham make good on his... Will Andy Burnham, will he make good on his promises? Well, we've only got time that will tell us that. You know, time will tell us that, but I don't think so. I think he's just like the rest of them. He comes on the fucking television with a fake smile, and he's gonna do this and he's gonna do that. I mean, yeah. I think, to be honest, he'll do fuck all. But if he does, then that might restore a bit of my faith, but I can't see it. I can't see it, guys. I can't see it, to be honest. I mean, I got a bit of my chicken burger stuck in my tooth. I don't know what I'm having for my supper tonight. I've run out of bread. I've run out of bread, guys. I could bake a loaf of bread, but the problem is I can't bake one big enough. The same size as something like a Warburton's. I've not got a tin big enough to bake a loaf of bread that big. You can't seem to get all the great big bread tins, you know, where you can bake a nice good loaf where you can get like 20 slices or whatever out of it, you know. But the baking channel's coming back soon. I've not done that on it. Paul, a guy from the 60s recommended a curry recipe. I'm not doing a curry recipe. If I do, it'll be out of a jar. And that's not worth doing. But, you know, we're thinking of something. I think Manchester is the most talked about area of Britain. Well, Manchester is a very historical part of Britain. In fact, Manchester is the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. It all started in Manchester. You know, Manchester and Stockport have got a very, very, very deep history. You know, mainly the Industrial Revolution. London is cultural hell. No, it's not. London's just fucking hell. There's nothing cultural about it, it's just fucking hell. And it's expensive. You ask Harvey, he lives there. You ask Harvey the expense of London. You know, if he was to do the same shop item for item where I do mine and buy exactly the same stuff, it'd cost him twice the price because he lives in London. When you live in the capital, you pay the privilege. You pay the price. And that's my cup I got from my friend Richard a couple of months ago. I've been to Scratchy Corner. I love our industrial history. I do, Karen. I love you know, Britain as a whole. You know, Britain as a whole is the cradle. It's the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. I mean, it all started in Manchester, but as a whole, it's the birthplace. You know, the North. You know, and Yorkshire for its mines and shit like that, and that kind of thing. You know, Victorian England is legendary. Yes, it is. You know, I mean, look what we gave the world. You know, and contrary to popular belief, Edison didn't give the world the electric light. A guy called Joseph Swan did, and he lived in England. There was a guy called Joseph Swan who invented the electric light. Edison's main invention was how to steal other people's inventions. Because most of what he came up with, he stole. Like the phonograph. Edison didn't invent the phonograph. Hang on, I used to watch Fred Dibner. Very talented man. Do you know, I thought Fred Dibner was one of the best people I'd ever come across. I wanted to meet Fred but never got the chance. I'd have loved to have met him and had a pint with him and a good chat with him. You know, because you see, the thing with Fred Dibner, Fred was one of us. You know, he was an ordinary guy. Turing didn't. No, he didn't. The computer was invented by a guy called Tommy Flowers, who worked for the GPO, the telephone exchange at Dollis Hill. That's who invented the computer. Turing got all the fame, and Tommy Flowers got fuck all. All he got was £1,000 given by a grateful nation at the end of the war for his war work. He wasn't allowed to discuss it because of the 50-Year Secrecy Act. I mean, the computer was invented here in Britain, despite what the fucking Americans think. It was invented here in Britain by fucking Tommy Flowers. And I'm not talking about the difference engine, which was a mechanical computer that was invented by Charles Babbage. I'm not talking about that, because that, in my opinion, is just an overgrown clock, an overgrown calculator. But the proper electronic computer, you know, an electronic computer as we know a computer, which is electronic, was invented by Tommy Flowers. It was called Colossus. and it went to Bletchley Park in I can't remember where, in Bletchley. Went to Bletchley Park in Bletchley, and where it served out where it served out the rest of the war, and there was more than one Colossus. There was more than one built, and at the end of the war, they were all taken apart, and the parts returned to GPO stock or surplus. And there's actually rumours that one Colossus still exists deep in the bowels of GCHQ. But no, we all know Turing, Alan Turing didn't invent the computer. And contrary to popular belief, the Americans didn't either. The only reason we were written out of the story of the computer was because of the 50-Year Act. I mean, just about everything that makes a difference was invented here. I mean, the telephone was invented here. You know, the radio, that was pretty much invented here. You know, in my opinion, the steam engine was the best invention man ever made, followed by the transistor. Yeah, the steam engine, that's another thing that was invented here. You know, unless you count a couple of oddities like a couple of novelty things that were invented by a guy called Heron, sorry, invented by a guy called Heron, who was an ancient Greek. Fred Dibner, the aforementioned, God rest his soul, Fred Dibner, made one of them, actually built from scratch one of Heron's devices, the whirligig thing that spun round and steam come out, and it exploded. And it exploded, and Fred, when it went pop, Fred nearly jumped out of his underpants. But yeah, the television, it was invented by a Scotsman. Okay, we don't use the Baird television system today, but he invented the concept. He was the first person to transmit colour television. He was the first person to transmit from the UK to America television. He was the first person to transmit, believe it or not, stereo television. He also made some discs, which they can't read today, but they believe they've got pictures on them, which were the first video discs, and they're made out of shellac, the same as the 78. Baird was a very clever man, but sadly he died a poor man because his inventions never came to anything really. The true inventor of electronic television was a guy called Philo Farnsworth, who was an American. He was an American. Newcomen developed the first commercially successful. Yeah, he did, and he was Welsh, I think. Yeah, he was Welsh. But, Thomas Newcomen, yeah, I know. But James Watt improved the engine. He improved the engine by making it double acting. Making it double acting, which meant the steam was used twice. The same steam got used twice before it got exhausted. Before it went through the exhaust system. It was used to push the piston. I do know shellac comes from beetles. It's actually the excretion of the lac beetle. Yes, I do know that. Yes. So when I'm listening to my George Formby collection of 78s, really all I'm listening to is 3 minutes of shit before anybody says it. I already know that. It's like when you're watching a video recording. All you sat there doing for half an hour or however long it is watching a load of rust. You know, you're watching Rust. Yeah, you know. But yeah, we all know these things. You know, of course we do. Yeah. You're quick with the facts, Andy. Very smart. But that's because that's because I use my brain for what my brain was designed for. You know, I use it for learning. I do a lot of reading, a lot of watching, a lot of looking, a lot of observing. If I want to know about something, if something interests me, and I want to learn about it, I'll learn about it. If something doesn't interest me, then I won't learn about it and I won't know nothing about it. You know, it's like religion. Ah, you lot were wondering when it was going to get there, didn't you? But of course, we've got to touch on that, haven't we? It wouldn't be a chat with Andy without... Hang on a minute, guys. Will you bear with me just a minute? I've just sat on my penis. Ow. Ah, just sat on I've sat on my penis. I just moved and I sat on my penis. Anyway, did you also know very true fact that Keir Starmer is a wanker? Oh, of course I know that. Everybody knows that. Just because he's no longer the Prime Minister doesn't mean to say he's no longer a wanker. He was a wanker before he was a Prime Minister. He was also a very good buddy of Jimmy Savile. You know, the late disgraced Jimmy Savile. Yeah. Yeah, he was a very good buddy of his. Yeah, you know, but we all know that. I mean, you know, I'll be honest with you, until he appeared as Prime Minister, I'd never even heard his fucking name. Keir Starmer, I didn't know who the fuck he was till he appeared. You know, to be honest, I didn't. But yeah, you know, I don't wish to learn about religion because it doesn't interest me. But if I was gonna join in on a topic, then and it was about religion, then I would actually do a bit of research on the particular topic under discussion and learn a bit so that I could comment and say what I think, you know. But yeah, but as for Britain, yeah, we've got a great history, especially a great industrial past. I mean, it's just that we've had several governments that fucked it up over the years. You believe in guardian angels? That's good enough for me. I do believe in guardian angels. I think everybody has a guardian angel. I've got one. She's a woman. Why is she a woman? Because I want a woman guardian angel. I don't want a man. And let me tell you something about my guardian angel. Right, whenever I'm in the shit, something always happens. Something good always happens. Like if I run out of gas or electric or something like that and I've got fuck all and I'm on my arse. Which happens to me a lot. Right? It does, guys. It happens to me and thousands of other Britons and thousands of other people around the world. It happens a lot too. Right? But something nice always happens. You know, something falls into my lap. And, you know, and that, you know, and I believe that's my guardian angel. You know, I don't hear from her much, but when I do, she makes up for lost time. Let me say that, you know. But yeah, I do believe in guardian angels. I've always believed in them. I don't believe in angels that have halos around their heads and wings, but I do believe in guardian angels. That's not the same thing. I believe in guardian angels. I believe everybody's got an angel that watches over them. Absolutely. Everybody's got one. You know. But, you know, it depends on, you know, you see, believing in guardian angels and believing that you've got a guardian angel is not the same as believing in God or religion, because I don't believe there's a God. I really don't. You know, I don't accept the fact, you know, and, You know, but I think guardian angels, how would I explain them? Probably somebody that's already been and passed on, and they still believe they can do some good, so they don't want to leave. So, you know, I believe that when they go, that they're instilled with special powers, and, you know, they're using them powers for good in most cases. You know, a guardian angel that does bad's not very much of a guardian angel, is it? So I suppose I'm here to tell you there is a God. No, 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 there's not, Clarence. If there was a God, it'd be me. No, I can't. It doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter how many people tell me there's a God, until he fucking does something for me or knocks on my fucking door and says, "Hey, listen, I'm God." You know, no, I'll never accept it, mate. I won't, because, you know, the concept of God, divine intervention by a God, it can be explained in so many ways. It can be explained away in so many ways. It can, guys, honestly. We can explain the concept of God in so many ways. One of the most popular ways, and my most favourite, hey, we've got 5 in. I'll never try and make you believe. Good. That's very reassuring, that, Clarence. Because I don't believe in God. You know, it's like I don't believe in heaven and hell. I believe heaven and hell is what you make it. You know, your life is as easy or as hard as you want it to be. I mean, my life is very easy. Why? Because I don't really give a fuck about most things. You know? I want to know what Karen and Jeff say. Yeah, that'd be interesting. What's your... Jeff doesn't really come on. It's usually Karen that comes on. Jeff, I think Jeff delegates in the background, doesn't he, Karen? Jeff just sits in the background and delegate. He's a lovely fella, is our Jeff. He's a lovely fella, is our Jeff. Yeah, lovely fella. He never comes on though. He just I think he just delegates, doesn't he, Karen, love? But yeah, he's a lovely fella, is our Jeff. I've met Karen and Jeff. Cause they came to get a record player from me, a Bush record player that they bought from me. They came to collect it a few years ago. Lovely couple, you know. They are. They're really, really nice. Nice and friendly, and, you know, that's what you want. You know, they were pleasant, you know, and they didn't even try and knock me down on my price, even though they're from Yorkshire. They never tried to knock me down on my price, which was, you know, a good thing. And yeah, no, they're lovely people. Of course they are. Hang on. I've been trying to get that off for about 20 minutes by trying to snap it with my finger, but it won't come off. Bloody sharp thumbnail. I'll tell you what I could do with guys, if anybody fancies a job. Who wants to come round and cut me toenails? I remember when my daughter was about 14 or 15. We were sat there watching the telly one night. Oh, hang on. If people find comfort in God, then that can't be a bad thing. Whatever you believe, whether you believe or not. No, that's true. In America, we spell it Jeff. Well, it means the same thing. But no, you're absolutely correct, Karen. I mean, the old lady that used to live upstairs, Frances, you know, she was a devout Christian. Not devout enough to go to church every Sunday, but she still, you know, she believed that when she died, she went to a special place. And she believed that one of your relatives that had already passed came to guide you the way, to show you the way, came to collect you so you didn't get lost. You know, and that's what she believed. And, You know, who was I to say that it was a load of bollocks? It's not for me to say that someone else's belief is a load of bollocks. You know, I just don't believe in any of it. You know, but hey guys, I could be wrong. Yeah. It wouldn't be unheard of. I have been wrong once this year. I think I have, I can't remember. But, you know, I know, it's all joking apart, guys. Right? I could have it all wrong. You know, I should believe when I don't. But then again, I might be right and not believing at all. I don't know. Hello, hey, Judy Duggan. Hello, Judy. Hi, Andy. I watch your channels. I watch your channels originally for the electronics, but watching you over the years, I like the way you deal with life, and I wish I was like you. Well, thank you very much. Good evening to you as well. Yeah, thank you very much, Jodie. That's very nice of you to say that. You know, but yeah, I do. You know, I'm very laid back. I take a simple approach to life. You know, and you know, yeah, I've had my fair shares of trials and tribulations. Of course, I have. You know, I've found myself in the proverbial. Let's not mince words, guys. I've found myself in the shit on occasions. You know, but I've always managed to drag myself out, dust myself off, and pick myself back up. You know, I very rarely get depressed. Well, I don't. I'll leave that until I've got plenty of time for it when I'm dead. I'll do that when I'm dead. I think about all that stuff then when I've got all the time in the world to do it, and it's not going to affect me or anybody else. But, you know, I just take every day as it comes. I mean, you know, I don't worry about anything because there's no point worrying about something. If something's going to happen, why worry about it? And if you're going to worry about it, make a good job of it. You know, but, pardon me, I don't worry about much. There's a lot of things I don't worry about. Religion should be a personal choice. I don't like anyone trying to force their beliefs on me. No, I'm the same, Karen, and I agree with you there 100%. If people want to believe in a higher being, higher than men, or higher than the washing machine in the kitchen, then they should be allowed to do that. If people want to worship their washing machine or their microwave, who's to say they shouldn't? I mean, you know, who's to say they shouldn't? Everybody has a right. That's the whole point of free will, the right to choose. You know, that's the whole point of it, the right to choose. You know, and no, I don't believe that anybody should force their will or their beliefs on another person. Absolutely far from it, no. You know, I don't like people thinking they can make me believe what they want me to believe. I'm losing the light in here, guys. I'm going to get shooting off in a minute because, yeah, you know, the channel's getting about now and it's only been going under this name anyway for one day. Less than a day even. But, you know, I will say this. I'm really pleased with people that have come in, put the 2 pennies worth, and even Clarence having a bit of a debate with me. Having a bit of it's all a bit of fun, guys, remember that. Anything I say, don't take it serious. You know, take it on the chin. You know. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's just words, it's just chat. And it's just banter, if anything else. And that's all it's ever going to be. But, you know, I'm going to do this kind of thing on this channel. That way it leaves the other channels free for what the other channels are intended for. That's why I deleted all the live streams off the electronics channel, because they don't, off the audio channel, because they don't need to be there. I might turn one of the other channels into the karaoke channel. Probably the record collection channel. I might split. I'll either split that or I'll turn it into the karaoke channel. But we are going to be coming back with the karaoke. Not just yet, but we are going to be coming back with it. Evangelism, spreading the word, is creepy. Isn't it just? Yeah. And we all know about the Church of England. That was invented by Henry VIII. Yeah, some of the hardest and cruelest things have been done out in the name of religion. Yes, it fucking has. Like Matthew Hopkin. Matthew Hopkin, the Witchfinder General, who was active mostly in East Anglia. In the 1600s, during the during the English Civil War. Yeah, the Witchfinder General. Yeah, he was an evil bastard. He was an evil bastard. He was a right nasty piece of work. And you know, there's got to be a lot of tormented souls that he put to death, and in the manners he put them to death, you know, was drown, you know, dunking, tying stones to them and dunking them in water, shit like that. Oh no, you know, trussing them up like the Sunday chicken, and throwing them off a bridge into water tied up. Salem, Massachusetts killed a lot of witches too. That's right, yeah, the Salem Witch. Was it called the Salem Witch Project? Or something like that, wasn't it? The Salem Witch something scandal. Something I can't remember exactly. Yeah, but I've heard about the Salem witches. You know, I've heard about that. You know, but Matthew Hopkins, he was a horrible person. Him. I mean, he used to have the blessing of the local magistrate. One of my favourite Hammer horror films, Andy. Witchfinder General. It's one of mine as well. I think I've got it somewhere on the hard drive. It's one of mine as well. And you know something, right? I'd never heard. Until I watched that. I watched that film. It came on the telly. I remember watching it in 1987 on a Ferguson TX90 in my bedsit, and I actually recorded it because I thought it might be interesting. So I recorded it so I could watch it again, and I wanted to learn a lot more about how evil Matthew Hopkins was. How evil Matthew Hopkins was. He was a right nasty bastard. He used to get the blessings of the local magistrates, and you could get arrested and condemned as a witch on his word alone. Salem witch trials drowned women. If they lived, they were a witch. That's right. That's what Matthew Hopkins did. Anyway, all I've got to say on the matter, guys, is this. I'm saying nothing else. I'm going to say one thing and one thing only, and there we go. More than 2 sniffs of that fucker and you're greedy. No, I know what you're saying. I know I've read. I've not read much, but I've read a little bit, and I do know a little bit about the Salem witch trials. Yeah, they operated with a similar way that Matthew Hopkins did. If they drowned, they were innocent. If they survived, they were fucking witches. Yeah. So, you know, but it only took somebody to make an allegation. You know, it just took one of you know, if you had an argument with one of your neighbours, you know, your neighbour took exception to you and they said you were a fucking witch. Oh, it didn't take long for word to get about, guys. It didn't. It really didn't. And, you know, thankfully, it was all Puritans, that it was all Nazism, yeah, it was all that. Yeah, it was all, yeah, I can't pronounce that fucking word. Puritanism. Is it Puritanism? Yeah, I think I've got it. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Thank fuck we don't live in a world like that. I mean, could you imagine getting in a time machine and going back to them times? The 1600s during the English Civil War, and you dump your time machine in a forest somewhere, and you emerge, and your mobile phone fucking rings. You get fucking hung as a witch. You get to think you're a witch. It's also the reason why people migrate to America for religious freedom. That's right. You know, I mean, America's known as the land of the free, isn't it? And quite rightly so. But everywhere should be free. It shouldn't, there shouldn't be a place on earth that isn't known as the land of the free. At the end of the day, we're all born equal. We all come out of a fucking fanny. Ooh, we all come out of a fucking box, don't we, guys? We come out of one box and go in another box. As long as you live in the woods, you're on your own. On your own, you're fine, yeah. At the end of the day, guys, we all come from the same place. We all come out of a woman's fanny. Yeah, okay, it doesn't sound nice, but it happens to be true. And, I remember when I was 13, I got arrested by the police. Well, you wouldn't get arrested by anybody else, would you? I got arrested, and the cop and sergeant says to me, he said, "Where do you come from?" I said, "My mum's fanny." But yeah. He says, "What's your dad's name?" I said, "Well, we just call him Dad." He says, "Any allergies?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, baked beans." He said, "Baked beans?" I said, "Yeah, they make me fart." Anyway, he lifted the counter. He moved the typewriter over and lifted the counter up and walked from behind it. He says to me, he was a bloody great big fat sergeant. He says, they're always big when you're 13, aren't they? He says, "Bend over," so I did. And he planted his size 10 Doc Martin, please issue Doc Martin boot right up me fucking ass. I says to him, I said, "That's assault." He said, "So call a policeman." I said, very fucking funny. But he said, "Well, that's what you get for giving me shit." He says, "Right, let's try again. Any allergies?" I said, "Yeah. Police issue Doc Martin boots." I said, "The hurt when you get kicked up the arse." But, at the end of the day, we all whinge about the world that we live in, but it could be far worse. And in the past, not so distant past, even in the grand scheme of things, a couple of 100 years is nothing compared to the age of the age of the solar system, the cosmos and everything else. Even the planet we walk upon. A couple of 100 years is a drop in the ocean. It's a blink of an eye in the grand scheme of it. And, some of the atrocities, some of the things that went on, would never happen today. Like someone like Matthew Hopkins, he would never do that today. You'd never be able to do that today and get away with it. You just wouldn't be able to do it, guys. It wouldn't happen. Them sort of things will never ever happen again, hopefully. I can't see things like that ever happening again. See, you got to remember, at one time, people were ignorant. People were just ignorant. They were, they didn't know much about anything apart from the village they lived in. And at that time, Britain was broke up into little towns and little villages and little hamlets. And things like that. But now we've got big cities and we've got big towns, and now when you tell a policeman you've been stabbed, he says, "I don't think so. I don't think you have, mate." Really? Yeah. Now when you tell a policeman, "Yeah, you've been stabbed," he says, I don't think you have, mate. Right. No, I've never had that problem. I had a gun put to my head once. Somebody put a gun to my head, one of the undesirables from around where I live, put a gun to my head. And I just told me, shoot me. You know, didn't even panic. I just said, go for it. You know. That incident is shameful. It is. It is. I mean, the policeman is supposed to believe anything you tell him. Indeed it was. Yeah, I can believe it, yeah. You know, I mean, you know, I had a gun put to me head back in the 90s. And I just told him to do it. Do you know why I told him? Because I can tell the difference between a real gun and an air pistol. Between something that'll fire a proper round, a proper bullet, a proper live round, and something that'll follow, something that fires a pellet. I thought, what's the worst that can happen? It'll either bounce off my forehead or take one of my eyes out. I just said, pull the trigger, you cunt. And him and his mate fucking scarpered. But, you know, if that's what you do, you call a bluff. I don't care about anything, mate. Well, I do. I mean, but I don't, you know, I don't mean that I don't care about other people. Of course I do. You know, I care about things, but, you know, if somebody comes up, hang on, somebody comes up and they put a gun to my head and they say, "I'm going to shoot me," go for it. You know, I'll only die once. You know. Hey, Newark, and in December in Southampton. Henry Newark, and in South Africa, and in Southampton. Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, right, at the end of the day, guys, it's, you know, it's one of them things, isn't it? I mean, anyway, I'd like to thank you all for joining me and partaking in the chat, taking part in it, making it really worthwhile. Remember, guys and ladies, I'm here every Thursday. I'll use this finger, you can see it, even though I'm left-handed. I'm here every Thursday between 6 and 7, and we'll be here for a couple of hours, and we can put the world to rights or we can put the world to wrongs, depend on your point of view. You all take it easy, because I've got to go in the workshop, but before I go in the workshop, I've got to stop at the lavatory and have a piss, because my bladder needs to be drained. Have a good night, see you next Thursday. You certainly will, guys, that's if the good Lord wills it. If there is a good Lord, that is. If there's a man upstairs and he wills it, I'll be here. If there's not a man upstairs and he doesn't will it, I won't be here. But let's hope there is, and let's hope that, you know. See, I don't believe in God, but I would never take it away from him, but it does. You all have a lovely evening. Like, share, subscribe. Buy me a coffee if you want to. I'm glad you've all, you know, really come in, and we've all had a bit of fun, and we've all, you know, the new channel is off to a start. So I will be here next Thursday between 6 and 7. Catch you later. Bye for now, guys. I'm melting. I'm melting. I've melted.